all one huge aquifer. And it's scary because if one gets contaminated, what's to say that the rest of them won't either? But it is scary because, like I said, I shower, and even when I wash my hands or put water in a pan to like cook some spaghetti or something, if the water smells, and I say, Mom, this water smells. Oh, our softener just needs changed. Well, that's what you said last week too. It's scary. It really does scare me. And we have water filters and stuff, but from from that documentary, we learned that the membranes from this toxic sludge that is produced from fracking and contaminated, it will eat through the membranes of water filters, and that's scary because it really makes me feel like I'm not safe anywhere. There was one thing that my English professor from 2 years ago, she said, and I always liked it. She shared a quote from Margaret Mead, and it says, "Never doubt that a group of small and thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And it's true, and I'm glad that everyone came out today, afternoon. It's beautiful afternoon. I really appreciate it. I know none of you are from really around here, so I really do appreciate it. This is my hometown, and I'm really glad you guys can help me, because if it wasn't for you, I'd literally be standing out here by myself. And it's frustrating, because no one wants to listen to the facts. No one wants to open their eyes. All they see is green, and it's not the environmental green. It's the green of George Washington's, and it's really depressing. Thank you again for coming out.
Wow.
All right, local
youth. Good job. Wow. It's true.
I'll go up and say some words.
Oh, good. Yes.
If you have some downtime.
Let me. Oh, yes. We have Sierra Club here, gentlemen and ladies. So Jed Thorpe, glad he's here. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Leah. Like she said, my name is Jed Thorpe, and I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club's 17,000 members across Ohio.
Yay!
There is a battle being fought in this country. On one side, you have those who think that public resources are theirs for the taking. Those who think that short-term profit and the almighty dollar is worth putting our health and safety at risk, our natural environment, and our future economic prosperity at risk. Those who think that laws and rules intended to protect public health shouldn't apply to them. On the other side, you have those who believe that a better path is possible. Those who believe that public resources like water should be used for drinking and agriculture and recreation. Those who believe in being cautious and listening to things like science. Those who believe that a cleaner energy future is possible. This battle isn't being fought in Washington or even Columbus, where guys in fancy suits with deep pockets have already bought themselves the best laws oil and gas money can buy. This battle is now being fought in places like Dimmock, Pennsylvania, places like Dish, Texas, and yes, places like New Philadelphia, Ohio.
Yep.
And I'm proud to stand here today with those of you who are on the right side of this battle. Prior to my work with the Sierra Club, I spent 5 years with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, where I helped to coordinate that agency's public involvement activities. I know what meaningful public involvement looks like, and I can tell you that what the MWCD has proposed, that ain't it. Keep in mind, the MWCD has twice now approved the sale of millions of gallons of clean, fresh water as an emergency measure. An emergency to who? If I'm in a boat and that boat has a hole in it, getting rid of that water is an emergency. If I have a pot boiling over on the stove, that's kind of an emergency. But if what you have is millions of gallons of clean, fresh water sitting safely in a reservoir, getting rid of that water is not an emergency. The MWCD has proposed a public input process that is meant to appease rather than truly engage the public. Sure, they'll have a venue where concerned and interested members of the public can get up and say their piece. but that input will likely fall on deaf ears. And the ears of the folks who need to hear that most, the MWCD Board of Directors, won't even be in that room. Having spent countless hours in school gymnasiums and libraries, listening to valid concerns of the public, I can tell you that there's a huge difference between hearing somebody's concerns firsthand and reading those concerns in a transcript. Going forward, I urge the MWCD to create a citizen advisory board made up of a broad and diverse slice of the public with the power to give real, meaningful public input. When Woody Guthrie said, "This land is your land," he wasn't just talking about the land, he was talking about our air and our water. And let's not forget who this water truly belongs to, you and me, the public. And when the poet Coleridge wrote, "Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink," let's hope to God he wasn't talking about the future of Ohio.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Whoa. Goosebumps. Oh, Nathan. Good.
So, who wants to live in a toilet bowl? A cesspool of toxic radioactive fracking waste?
Not me.
Because that's the sort of future we might be looking at if the industry and decision makers who don't heed public health and don't heed the evidence that's increasingly mounting, they get their way and push forward with this very short-sighted rush towards fracking profits. Where does the waste from fracking come? I mean, where does it go in Ohio? Two places. On our roads, where our children play, where our animals cross, and injection wells. Where does the water go once it goes in the injection well? Well, 1 out of every 6 injection wells that are inspected have evidence of serious mechanical integrity failures. What does that mean? That means the contaminated water is escaping the well and leaching into our water supply. I don't want to live in a toilet bowl, and I'm sure you don't, and I'm sure there's not a soul in Ohio that wants to, although there may be some in the industry that conveniently ignore those facts. But we have to be very careful, and we've got to put an end to the fracking that's happening if we want to have a livable future for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Woo. That's great.
My name is Greg Pace. I come from Columbus, and I'm with the group Guernsey County Citizen Support on drilling issues. And my kids, I have 2 boys that live in Guernsey County. Right now, this week, when I visited them, I got to look at a flare about 1/3 of a mile from where they live. I got a bunch of pictures of it, but it lights up the whole countryside. This well was fracked about 3 months ago. There's no pipeline to it, so they have to flare it continuously, or repeatedly. They flared it for about 2 weeks when they fracked it, and now, intermittently, they keep flaring it because they have to do something with the gas. I guess it's a test well, I'm not sure. But down south in Guernsey County, there's a lake that the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District has a jurisdiction of called Seneca Lake. And my understanding is, I was at a meeting on Wednesday that they were telling people that they are going to be leasing land around that lake. They own 90% of the land around the lake, the riparian land, the waterfront. They're going to lease up to 6,000 acres, I believe, to frack on. And they're telling people that they're going to have 12 wellheads. 12 wellheads around this lake. And what I had to ask them about was how many wells are they going to have out of those wellheads. And they said anywhere from 24 to 45. Now could you imagine a freshwater lake uses fresh water for drinking water, for boating and everything else we use it on, with 45 frack
They've already
wells
fracked 2
down
other
underneath and
reservoirs.
around this lake.
It's too late for Clendenning, at
one
least
out
though.
of, I guess it's 6% of every well, the cement leaks out of it when they're first created. So what's the percentage, what's the probability that you're going to get a leakage from one out of these 45 wells? Statistically, you have 100% probability you're going to get leakage out of at least one well that they put in there if they put 45 wells and laterals underneath this lake. What do you think that's going to do to the lake, all this fresh water? Probably going to contaminate it. Arsenic, benzene, if they use diesel fuel, which they use quite a bit, formaldehyde, ethylene glycol, what they use for antifreeze, radioactive heavy metals that come up, all these things have a high probability of going into that lake. So that's what we're looking at. They don't want to tell people this. Thank you.
They can't keep it from us. Get a, another song on your repertoire?
Oh, I could just do one of the ones I did before again.
Oh, is that okay? And then I would, what do you think, Alice? Should we just ask if anybody else wants to speak afterwards? And then we'll go. Okay.
Make a call right now.
Sure.
The open mic is open again. Would anybody, it's going to be the last chance here before too long. Anybody else like to speak?
Song.
Anybody have their comments that they gave to the NWCD board? Would they like to give them again? Catherine, you have some pithy words for us to finish up? It was a great speech.
Are you going to talk, Josh?
Besides which, you're the only one as tall as me, so I don't have to adjust the microphone.
Okay, thank you. Well, when we were talking to the board of directors of the Muskingum Watershed Conservation District, we wanted to make sure that we left them with some information, some things, some suggestions. We read with great dismay their announcement that the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District reneged on its promise that it made to halt water sales until the completion of a USGS study. These water studies are vital. Environmental impact studies prior to consideration of any large-scale water sale is not only responsible and prudent, it's really the only way they should go about these things. Scientific studies should be crucial components of any such decision. It's equally imperative that the board who is entrusted to conserve and protect our water, they must do that in a way that's accountable and responsible to the people. And so far, that has not been done. We are asking for baseline testing of water quality in all lakes, rivers, streams, and it should be completed before any further leasing or sale of public resources takes place.
That was great in that.
It must be acknowledged to the public that the recent demands for large volume water sales are unique and unprecedented due to the fact that this water will never be returned to the water cycle. And in the state that they leave it, we can only hope that we never see it again.